Well, welcome to Tuesday Travel Chat. I'm one of your hosts, Julia.
And I'm Bob, your other host for today. We have a lovely subject and theme about today. So, Julia, why don't you tell us a little bit about the surprise?
Well, we have a special guest, Jennifer from Tauck, and our theme today is Floriade in Holland. And we're going to talk about this once every 10-year event that you too can enjoy next year with one of Tauck's gorgeous river cruises. But first, shall we do some news, Bob?
Let's do some news. Okay.
Let's get right into it. CDC, Bob, what's going on?
The Department of Health and Human Services has updated their U.S. state of public health emergency as it applies to the COVID pandemic, which means that for the next 90 days, they basically have the rule over most things that can be done in the United States due to their effect on public health. We don't know what that's going to mean. Most of the cruise lines are hoping to open and sail beginning of July. This puts us up until about July 19th.
23rd, I think.
July 23rd, okay. So, but it doesn't apply to airplanes because they're following the rules. So we don't know what's going to happen. Very, very blunt.
All this means, though, is, Bob, is that we're still stuck under the conditional sail order. If the public health emergency would be lifted, then we wouldn't have to deal with the conditional sail order. But they've extended it, so here we go.
The cruise lines, specifically Mr. Richard Fain and Mr. Frank Del Rio, are actively seeking to give permission for cruises to sail, along with Senator Rubio, Senator Scott, and the senators from Alaska. And they've been joined by a couple of other senators because of the impact on local economies. So hopefully we'll see something change. Now,
this morning, too.
Yes, this morning. Yeah, this morning, the CDC gave an update because of a severe outbreak of COVID with a variance among COVID. They are putting the Bahamas under the highest warning, which is level 4, saying unnecessary travel to the Bahamas should be avoided even if you're vaccinated. That could be lifted next week. It could be lifted in 2 weeks. It all depends on the statistics and the numbers. But the Bahamas is affected. Right now, it is not going to have any effect on Royal Caribbean sailing from the Bahamas in June. So we just have to keep checking. But they just did have a slight outbreak, and that came out this morning.
And as far as I understand, Bob, it is still a very small number, but they're just taking extra precaution.
Yes.
They're just being really careful.
It's a small number, but they're worried about the variant that it has. It's the Brazilian variant that they're finding, which has a different structure than some of the other ones, and they're not quite sure how vaccines and things are going to go against it. So, just be warned. We had to double check the Bahamas,
and we'll hopefully have more news next week. Now, going across the world a little bit, some happy news in the world of reopening. Australia has opened up the quarantine-free bubble, the travel bubble, with New Zealand. So this is big news. There's been talk of this for a while, so this is super exciting.
Yes, it is. Remember, it only affects people in Australia and New Zealand. I was watching public television last night, and one man has been separated from his partner for almost 9 months. And it was a lovely, touching scene. Both were in tears. So it's nice that they can do that. Hopefully, it will extend to Americans once the full efficacy of vaccines are proven. I think 99.992% is what I mentioned last week, having an efficiency rate against combating COVID for people vaccinated. So that's pretty good. So hopefully we're going to watch Australia handle this and see how it goes.
Next, we have Greece.
Yes. 2 weeks ago, we discussed Greece opening May 14th. They open next week, along with Croatia, I just found out. So Croatia and Greece are going to be open. Again, take a look at our video about Greece, but that fully vaccinated, no quarantine U.S. tourists. As a matter of fact, someone very close and dear to us has already booked their trip to go to Greece. The owner of Go Travel is going to be selling on a cruise in July. So we're looking forward to reporting with that. But Croatia, Greece is open. We're seeing a lot happening, which is good.
And also stay tuned because next week we will be announcing some very special trips that we have, some cruises going on, and a lot of content and videos coming out shortly.
Yes.
So watch our Facebook page.
Busy Tuesday next week.
Okay, and other good news.
Norwegian Cruise Lines has come out this wonderful series called Embark.
You sped up, Bob. France.
NCL has done NCL.
France.
Oh, France. I'm so sorry. That's below there. I'm so sorry. France.
We talked about Greece. Let's talk about
back? France. President Macron last night released a discussion that he's having with his cabinet. His orders are get the France open for U.S. vaccinated travelers within the next month. Fully vaccinated travelers are going to be able to go to France. As it appears, President Macron realizes the importance of tourism. France is the #1 tourist destination in the world. U.S. is #3. So there is a pent-up demand to get there. Hopefully, the president will be able to work out a system with the French government and the French authorities locally and regionally to allow Americans in. But that's good news for us. France, not Prince, France will be hopefully opening next May.
Okay, now we get to NCL.
Thank you. I thought you were talking that Prince came back. I thought he died about 5 years ago, but that's all right.
Not yet.
NCL, Embark, the series. Wonderful online program that's detailing their journey back to welcoming passengers and welcoming the crew and what they have to do. A lot of fun detail for those ship aficionados who want to know behind the scenes. NCL's Embark, the series is available. I think it's on YouTube.
You can find it on YouTube on NCL's page, or you can also go to nclembark.com.
Yes.
They just released their episode 1 of the series on the 15th. So
and I think
it's about 25 minutes long.
And there's going to be, it's about 6, I think, did they say 6 episodes at this time? 5 or 6?
I'm not sure. It's a series. Episode 1 is out. Check it out. And very good.
Do we have the link here on Facebook?
It's right up on the screen. View at nclembark.com.
I'm looking at that. Okay. So I finished the news, even though I don't have anything to say about Prince. We did discuss France. Julia, yes. It's back to you so I can shut up.
Well, I'm so excited. We do have Jennifer here today, and she's going to take us through the details and just kind of an update what's going on with Tauck, but also we're going to get into details of what is Floriade and how to pronounce it and where is it, what is it. I had not heard of this until Bob brought it up recently, and it looks like a phenomenal event. So we're going to check it out. But first, let's get warmed up and watch a little quick video about Tauck river cruising and what that experience is in Europe.
There is nothing ordinary about Tauck's cruises on the rivers of Europe. Tauck offers over 25 different itineraries on the major rivers in the heart of Europe: the Danube, the Rhine, the Moselle, the Seine, the Rhone, and the Douro. Glide past breathtaking scenery on Tauck's custom-designed riverboats. And with fewer passengers, enjoy the ultimate in personalized service in a sophisticated and intimate environment. But what really sets Tauck apart is our extraordinary land experiences. Revel in once-of-a-lifetime sparkling events and uncommon access on every one of our carefully crafted itineraries. Travel beyond the ordinary. Explore the magnificent rivers of Europe with Tauck, because how you see the world matters.
Oh, gorgeous. Well, I do want to remind you, if you have any questions during today's event, please just let us know your questions in the comments. We would love to get those questions answered for you live and here. But hey, Bob, should we bring on Jennifer?
I think we should. I think she's been hidden behind the dark curtains long enough. Jennifer Thorson, welcome to Go Travel Chat today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you both.
Thank you.
So tell us, where are you today, Jennifer?
I am in South Florida, between Boca Raton and Delray Beach and Highland Beach.
Awesome. And how is it down there? Give us the update.
It was very rainy this morning. Now it's hot.
Okay, so you're ready to talk about some river cruising, and let's talk about some beautiful weather and some beautiful plant life.
Okay, so yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with Tauck, we're a company that's been in business since 1925, and we're a family-run company. We have itineraries all over the globe and 6 different ways to travel. Today, we're going to focus on 2 different ways. First of all, we're going to talk about river cruising, and then we're going to talk about what we're operating right now. And as Bob so keenly pointed out, that there are many places that we're not able to go to at the moment, but those are opening up every single day. So when you take a look at the river cruises that are offered out there in the marketplace, why would you go with Tauck? You have so many options, and if you take a look at what's out there, you think of all the vessels, they're all basically the same sizes. They are built basically to fit through the locks and under the bridges. So we all have the same kind of hardware, the same size of hardware, but it's the way it's configured is all different depending on the operator. We all basically go to the same ports. And I think every company out there says that they're the best and they're all inclusive. So I'll touch on each one of those points and have you decide why you might want to travel with Tauck instead of maybe one of the other operators out there. When you do travel with us, we're always focused on the destination. We're a tour operator, and we have been for 96 years. So we're always focused on, when we get there, what are we going to do? How are we going to show our clients the destination in the best way possible? So that's always been our aim. If you think about it, at the end of the day, the people that design these itineraries, our operations department, they're focused on that because they know they're spending your money. And if they don't do a good job at it, you're not going to come back to us. So we want you to come back again and again and again. So our goal is always to show you the destination in the best possible way.
Jennifer, I can attest to that. I had the opportunity to sail on Tauck just about 2 years ago around this time in Southern Europe. And one of your clients was 125 times with Tauck.
I thought you meant years old.
98. And I think I was the neophyte. I was the only person on Tauck who had never traveled on a Tauck river cruise prior to that cruise.
Yeah, they do become groupies.
They do.
They do. I was a tour director.
Though. Lovely groupies. They are not, they embrace, they love to share their experiences. And that's what was so wonderful about traveling with other Tauck guests.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I was a tour director, so I got to meet my share, of just the most wonderful people.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you, Bob. So one of the things that we do is we're always looking for how we can get into a place to show you it in the way that maybe others don't see it in the same way, where we have a lot of exclusive access, going into a palace, a castle, a museum, after hours or before it opens. After hours, where we bring in caterers and performers, where you have an exclusive meal and a performance. Over to the right is a palace in Vienna that's not open to the public. It's open for foreign dignitaries because the prince and his family still live there. And he opens it for Tauck guests, which is wonderful. And we have an exclusive performance from the people from the Viennese Opera just down the street. And then we have this 5-course meal, and it's just free-flowing wine and champagne. And it's one of those nights that you just won't forget.
Yeah. And in Vienna, that place, the location is also where they filmed The Third Man. That is the apartment for the movie The Third Man with Orson Welles. I know stupid stuff about a lot of things.
I was a tour director. I can tell you some of my share too. Speaking of guides, we have local guides in all the destinations, but we also have a team of 4 Tauck directors on board. So one is a cruise director that stays with the vessel, but there are 3 that will be with you from the start of the trip to the end of the trip. A lot of our itineraries will do land before and after, where we'll stay maybe 2 nights in Prague and 2 nights in Budapest before and after the cruise. And the tour directors are there to facilitate all the logistics, but also to teach you about the destination and to answer your questions and to act as a concierge and to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So really, there's nothing left to chance. And having this team, I think, really does enhance your journey, because you don't have to worry about standing in line at the reception area because there's a lot of people waiting. You've got 4 people that are taking care of a small group of guests.
I know that's one thing my mom always talks about, is the beauty of just being handed your key and you can go and just go straight into the hotel and not have to worry about dealing with check-in or ever waiting for anything. But on top of that, on the guides, it's really nice to have some consistency with your guides as well, because they get to know you and it's not having to recreate relationships on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they do, they get to know you. And that was one of my favorite parts about being a Tauck director, because I got to know so many great people. And many I haven't directed a tour in 10 years, and I'm still in touch with quite a few of them today. We have many excursions. They're all included. Everything on a Tauck river cruise is included. Basically, you get to the airport and you put your wallet away. You don't have to think of it again until you get back to the airport. Did you find that, Bob?
Yes, it was. Well, not only that, but the person that I was traveling with wasn't able to go on one of the tours because it was too strenuous. And your onboard tour guide arranged a private car to take him on an hour tour of the area, dropping him at a church for the organ recital. And he did not have to open his wallet. And they wouldn't take a tip. That's what I found amazing.
Those are the kinds of things that we do. And the excursions, we have lots of choices. So you might see there'll be a bike ride, and there'll be a hike, and there may be a museum visit and a wine tasting. You get to choose what's up your alley. So if you don't choose to do something physical, there'll be something cultural or art inspired or entertaining. So there's all kinds of choices, and those are always included in the price. And Bob mentioned gratuities. Like we said, everything's included in the price, all the gratuities and the beverages, whatever you'd like to drink. So, you know, a lot of companies will say wine with dinner, and they might offer you 1 or 2 glasses. With us, it's free flowing. I feel like I'm brushing my teeth with it because it's so good. You just can't help yourself but want to drink it more and more and more.
Absolute quality.
And I mentioned traditionally on a lot of itineraries, we stay in hotels before and after. So we do the land programs. We don't want you to miss those cities. And the hotels that we choose are always the best located and the best quality within the location. So we have partners all over the world. Fairmont, we are the biggest partner of Fairmont. We have these great properties. So when you get to stay on a Tauck trip in a hotel, you feel like, you know, you're in luxury because you're right there in the middle of everything.
And again, if you have questions, don't hesitate. Type them in the comments. We want to hear from you.
We have itineraries all throughout Europe, as was mentioned in the video, over 25 different itineraries. And we're going to talk about the Floriade today, which specifically focuses on the Rhine, which is in the upper left-hand corner. If you were to look, it's northwest. Thank you, Julia.
Okay, so are we ready to move on to Floriade? Okay,
I sure am.
I can't wait. Okay, let's hit it. Oh.
What is the Floriade? And Julia said, is it Floriade, a Floriade? You know what? I'm sorry, I don't speak Dutch. I can tell you though, Bob, in France, where I was a tour director, they call it France. In Holland, I'm an American, so I'm just going to say Floriade. This is a horticultural festival that happens once a decade. It's 148 acres of reclaimed land from the sea. And the area that was deemed to be the representative to focus on Floriade for 2022 is called Almere. It's about 45 minutes outside of Amsterdam. Now, one great reason to go on a river cruise to see the Floriade is because there are no hotels nearby. We're about 15 minutes away where we're docked on the riverboat. So this makes it for a great opportunity for us to get there and to get in early before the crowds. We split the groups into small groups and then we go, and we have lots of local guides as well as your tour directors. But what is the event exactly? The focus next year will be on growing green cities. So this is a sustainable environment where the sights, the smells, the tastings, everything you see is focused on the energy, the healthifying, and sustaining a city all by itself, 148 acres. There will be, when the Floriade is over, there will be 660 houses that were built for pavilions. There will be 40 countries represented next year in the Floriade, and these 660 houses will house 1,000 residents. So this will be a futuristic city where plants, trees, flowers, vegetables, fruits, they're all going to sustain themselves. You think about recycling, okay? Of course they're going to recycle. What are they going to do? They're going to take tomato plants and teach you at the Floriade, and this is what they will be doing in the future, learn how to make fabric with it. They're going to plant all kinds of things, vegetables, flowers, plants, in the lasagna method. So something is always in bloom. Something is always rotating. There's always going to be food to eat. When you take a look at the transportation, there's a cable car that will be up above. That will be battery operated, electric. There will be a boat on the water, but it will be wind powered. The homes will be solar powered. So there's no fossil fuels. I think of when I was a kid, there was a cartoon called The Jetsons. And I think, this is a city of the future. It's a prototype for a city in the future. And it's something that I'm excited to see. I hope I get to go, because it sounds so different and so futuristic. There will be entertainment. There will be pop-up concerts. As I mentioned, tastings of the food that they're growing sustainably there. There will be art and the pavilions from all the different countries. I think it's just going to be one of those fascinating days. It's not just a walk through the park. There's an arboretum with all kinds of different plants and trees from all over the world.
And Jennifer, I believe it's in alphabetical order. You can by plant, which is so cool. I never knew that you could even do that. That's such a neat way to learn about plants. Yeah,
too bad I didn't have a photographic memory and could remember all of that stuff.
So cool.
I think there's a few more images. The arboretum, I think, is going to be great to spend, I don't know, an hour or two in there, and just to think of how beautiful that smells and looks. Even if you're not into flowers, I just think it can't help but put you in a good mood with all this nature and beauty surrounding.
And again, only once every 10 years.
Right.
That you have access to this.
And the interesting is some of those buildings, they've been under construction for 5 years to allow the plants to grow, to give that the maturity time.
Yep, they've been focused on this for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another image of that the riding feature of the gondola.
Yeah.
Really neat. Okay, so we've got some cruises.
Yes, we do. We have 4. And this is our the Dutch Waterway. So this is round trip Amsterdam. And we spend a whole day at the Floriade, and there's so many other great things about this trip, but it happens pretty much in the spring and in the fall, and it's one of those 8-day wonderful itineraries. You get to see so much of Holland, and so some great after hours. There's a food tour of Rotterdam. There's after hours in the Mauritius, where the girl with the pearl earring painting that's very famous, probably the most famous Dutch painting or one of them, is housed. So a really nice itinerary. If you're looking for something not too long, great focus. This is the one that I would like to do, and this is the one that you guys have group space on in April.
Yes, we do.
I believe April 13th.
April 13th,
yeah. Brussels.
Peak tulip seeing time.
It is. And you not only get to go to the Floriade, but you get to go to Keukenhof Gardens. And I've been there, and there's nothing like it. It's acres and acres and acres of tulips and flowers and the most amazing colors. I mean, it's a visual sensation. And it doesn't smell bad either. It's just a beautiful day to spend, walking in a park. And there's nothing like it I've ever seen anywhere.
And this is a cruise that a lot of people haven't done because it is just in Belgium and the Netherlands. So
and it's right. And it's only in the springtime.
Yes, only in the spring.
Only in the springtime. I think Keukenhof goes until maybe mid-May, but not beyond. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the tulips are past by then.
Yes.
And they do the rotating. They plant on a rotating basis too. So if say you go early April or late May to the gardens, if it's open, there's going to be flowers, lots of flowers in bloom all over the place. Because when some start to die, then the other ones start to bloom, and it's continual. It really is.
Yeah, very pretty.
On to another option here, 15 days.
So this is great because the other two focused on the Rhine River, and this is the Rhine and the Moselle. This is Amsterdam to Bern, I believe. So this is a nice itinerary, and it's a 15-day itinerary with great exclusives at the Schloss Schroven, and both rivers, which you can't go wrong. Being on a Tauck River cruise, you think when you get off the boat, you think, oh no, now I have to cook dinner and I have to take care of myself. Everything's taken care of you when you're on a Tauck vessel. So I just love, the longer I can go, the better for me. You have Europe going by you. It seems like every second of the day.
And another 15-day we have from Amsterdam.
Yeah, and two phenomenal anchor cities, Amsterdam and Budapest, and this goes on the Danube as well. So it goes to that palace I was talking about. It goes to that beautiful castle in Budapest, right there, the Imperial Castle. And yeah, it's got some wonderful things, wonderful attributes, great sightseeing. Nuremberg, the Floriade, Vienna. We spend about 36 hours in Vienna. Most companies don't spend a long time in Vienna. And to me, it's one of those cities like Paris where you need to spend time and you can't just go and see it for a few hours. You need to spend a bit more time.
True.
Well, and of course, after struggling for 15 days on this beautiful Tauck River cruise, then you hit the local spas. What am I trying to say? Hot springs in Budapest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the ships. We haven't taken even a look at these. We've been talking about all the destinations and the Floriade. Let's talk about the fleet.
Yeah, it's interesting, Julia, because sometimes I'm asked to be on a panel of for river cruising with the competitors, and we're all friends. The sales reps, we all know each other. We're all friends with each other. And I like to go last because I always hear what they're talking about. And I always think, nobody ever talks about the destination. They talk about, the thread count of their sheets and, the new crystal stemware, or how many swimming pools they have. And I think, what do they do with their guests when they get off of the boats? Because they don't talk about it. But with us, that's our focus. But of course, our fleets are just like the hotels that we stay in. They're so comfortable. We want you to be in the moment. We want your minds to be so free and clear that you're just happy. You wake up happy, you go to bed happy, and everything's taken care of for you. So yeah, we have some pictures to show of the fleet.
Sure. Let's see here. I know here's a list of some of the ships.
So one of the things that we focused on when we started to build our vessels was not to be crowded, for our guests to have more space. And that meant having a significant amount of 300 square foot suites. Most of our cabins are either 225 square feet or larger. And if you can see the list here, on our longest vessels, where we have a max of 130 guests. Now, there are companies out there that have 190 guests in the same size vessel, which means their cabins are small to accommodate all of those guests. With us, we have 4 Tauck directors to 130 people, where they have a cruise director for 190 people, and most of their cabins are much smaller. So our cabins are percentage of cabins that are 225 square feet or larger are over 80%. And then our smaller vessels that are like on the Seine and on the Rhone, they're a max of 98 guests, still with 4 Tauck directors on board, and still, 14 300 square foot suites, 32 225 square foot cabins. So enough space. And a nice thing throughout all of the vessels that we have, there's never a single supplement in category 1. So if you're traveling or you have somebody traveling with a family member, or, you're 2 people and one of them snores and want to stay married after the trip, you can book category 1 and not feel like you got penalized, because we don't charge for a double. There's no extra charge. The last column there I did want to mention is our new vessel that will be on the Douro. She was actually completed last year. She's never been christened. She's never sailed with guests because of the pandemic. But hopefully this year we'll be able to sail in the Douro. She's a little bit smaller because that's what the locks dictate on the Douro, and she'll have a max of 84 guests on board.
And one thing I want to add about the size of the ships, the thing that's important is when you're having a discussion in the lounge about your next day, your next port of call. I've been on other river cruises where they advise people if you didn't get to the lounge by a certain time, to watch it on your television. However, Tauck, there's always a seat, more like a seat and a half for everybody in the lounges.
Thank you. I didn't know that about the other river cruises, but I remember this about, I've been on a different, with a different river cruise company for a friend's birthday. And I remember every night around 7 o'clock, there were these people that were lined up from the restaurant door up the stairs. And I kept on thinking, what are they doing? What are they doing? They were waiting for the doors to open so they could
Yes.
run in and get their table for 4 or their table for 6.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's crazy. Why don't they just go down 10 minutes later after everybody's gone in? But I didn't realize that they kind of closed the doors. They want everybody in at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
And also in this time, having that space and that, you know, less capacity, but on the same size ship, that's everything. That's what everybody is looking for right now, is that just feeling of, space, community, but space.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that with our excursions, because so many times we get there before they open, we go in after hours. When we go to Giverny, I don't know if you've been to Monet's gardens outside of Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Going there in the middle of the day, it's crazy. It's a zoo. But we go there before it opens. There's just us. There's nobody else there, and it's peaceful and relaxing, and you get to appreciate it the way Monet painted
Mm-hmm.
it. Or going to the Louvre. We take our guests to the Louvre after hours. So again, it's like when we go to the Vatican on our land programs, we go after hours. So it's just us inside, and it's not a whole swarm of people. And these days, I don't know how comfortable I'd be, with a whole crowd of people, because we spent a whole year trying to stay away from them.
It's kind of nice having a little bit of space,
Yes.
where we're kind of getting used to some of that.
Yeah, we are. We've been spoiled.
But again, we haven't looked at the ship yet.
we haven't gotten to that
here's
part
some
yet.
views of the vessels. They're the first 4, the 443 feet are pretty much similar to each other, just different color schemes. And then the next, the 130 max packs are even a little bit similar to each other. So you can see the top left, that's what the lounge looks like. It's a very nice, comfortable feel. The lounge itself, yes, it's like Bob said, there's plenty of seats there. There's enough bartenders to keep everybody happy, because you can have whatever you'd like to have to drink. And the restaurant. Now, before the pandemic, there was open seating anytime, the restaurant was open. You could go down from, say, 7 till 9, anytime you'd like to, get a table for 2, ask for a larger table, whatever you'd like. We don't set all the place settings because we don't have so many people. So it's like a restaurant. I was on with my family, and we were up in the lounge, and we were talking and hanging out, and I looked at my watch and I realized it was 8 o'clock. So I went down to the restaurant and I said to the maitre d', do you think you could do a table for 9? And he said, oh yeah. He said, give me about 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, we went down, we had a table for 9.
Yes.
So it was easy.
It was. I did the same thing. So I'm just confirming it with you.
And then the cabins and the suites, we call anything a cabin that's under 300 square feet, and 300 square feet or larger, the suite. So you can see they have French balconies. That gives us more interior space. And those doors slide open so you can have the breeze come in. The beds are facing the bulkheads or the doors, and they're nicely appointed. There's one of my pet peeves is not enough lighting in the bathroom, so you can't see, but these were good. I was happily impressed.
Definitely.
And our alternative dining venue is called Arthur's, after our chairman, Arthur Tauck. It's a nice place. If you want to go there any time of the day, there's a chef that's there from 11 to 11. They have a continental breakfast. And then from 11 to 11, there's a menu with all kinds of it's a little bit less involved food than it is down in the restaurant, like burgers and sandwiches and things like that. A nice restaurant, though.
Good pizza.
And great views, too.
Oh, beautiful.
So while we're still, I think we're going to do a little peek at also some things that we have happening in the USA. But in the meantime, if you have any questions about the Tauck River Cruise experience or Floriade, do let us know in the comments. Bob, any other questions or thoughts while we're still on this topic?
Not really. I just think people really need to know that this is a not in pocket cruise. You could sew your pockets shut and have a wonderful, wonderful experience. As a matter of fact, they even gave us euros. They said, we want you to go out and taste the local food, the local pastries in Vienna. So they gave us 5 or 10 euros and said, go on out and do something with them. Everything was always a pleasant surprise, not, oh my God, what's next? There was no anxiety. It was all a true pleasure, and the staff was the same. And they even have spas on most of the ships.
That you do have to pay for. So
yes,
if you want to have your hair done,
you got to pay.
Like,
but the massage was 40 euros.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing.
If you'd like a massage, if you'd like to have your hair done, or buy items from the gift shop, those are the only things that you'd pay extra money for on a Tauck River cruise.
Yeah, just very lovely.
Well, let's take a peek at also some other things, some more immediate things that we can be doing, even talking 2021 here. What's going on as far as USA tours, Jennifer?
So thank you, Julia. So we have a number of domestic itineraries. They're all land, but they do include some flights within them to get the best perspective. And those are what we're operating now. We will be in June. Every single domestic itinerary land program will be operating in July and beyond. So this one's the Spirit of the Desert. It's a fabulous itinerary, going to see the arches for the sunrise, flight seeing over Capitol Reef National Park, flight seeing over the Grand Canyon to get a perspective like no other ever, going to Zion and ending in Las Vegas. So this is one of Ken Burns, if you're familiar with him, that he did the documentary on the national parks. This is one that he collaborated on with our operations department. We stay in the north rim of the Grand Canyon on this itinerary because only about 10% of the visitors go to the north rim. And again, we have it to ourselves, like we were talking about, having all that space and not being in a crowd. Another one, this is our most popular itinerary. It's from Phoenix to Las Vegas, and it goes to the Grand Canyon, Bryce, Zion, Lake Powell, a private cruise on Lake Powell, some really great opportunities to see the canyons, and we stay within the parks. And that's one of the hallmarks of Tauck, is the best located hotels. These aren't 5-star hotels within the parks, but you wake up and you can have your coffee looking at this beauty surrounding you, and there's nothing like it. You have your time maximized in the parks when you're traveling with us.
Jennifer, what's the typical size? What's the typical number of guests on a tour like this?
A typical number, our average is 38, but we also have small group tours, which is no more than 26, an average of 24. And with the new protocols, if we had 38, we'd have 2 motor coaches this year. With our protocols now, we will have, we are asking our guests to either have a negative PCR test, COVID test, or have a vaccination. So excellent. One of the two.
Good. And when are these starting to go? When can people start?
June. If you go onto Tauck.com, you can see everything that we have available. A lot of these are sold out, but June we're operating nearly every one of these itineraries, if not
okay. All. So if anytime in 2021 from June, you can start planning any one of these America adventures.
Yep. And they're selling fast. Charleston, Savannah, we're operating right now. So this is a wonderful trip if you want to learn about, the Civil War or the War of Northern Aggression, depending on your perspective, and see those iconic cities of Charleston and get some low down country boil and, stay in those great hotels, see the squares in Savannah. And, it's just great cities to learn about.
Great.
One of my favorite itineraries, I used to run this when I was a tour director. It's It's a week-long itinerary, round trip Boston. We stay 2 nights on Martha's Vineyard, 2 nights on 2 nights in Chatham on Cape Cod. We go up to Provincetown for the day. We do a whale watch. And we spend 2 nights in Newport. And I think one of the big differences with what we do and what other companies do is we stay 2 nights on the vineyard in the best hotel on the island.
Mhm.
Most companies will stay in Falmouth or Hyannis, and then they'll take a long ferry ride to get to the island and a long ferry ride back. And if they include Nantucket, the same thing. But because we stay there for 2 nights, we fly over to Nantucket, and then we take the high-speed hydrofoil. So we're not spending all the time traveling. We're spending more time there instead of more time getting there.
And the views from those properties are just spectacular.
They are. You feel like you're in a quaint seaside village, which you are. Hawaii, I think a lot of people like to do this by cruise, and I certainly understand that. But personally, before I worked for Tauck, I worked on small cruise ships, and I did work on a ship that sailed round trip from Honolulu. And then I saw this Tauck itinerary, and I thought, oh my God, I need to do that. Why? Because we spend 3 nights in almost every place. I never had that beautiful Asian-inspired papaya, pineapple cuisine, all that fresh fish. I wasn't talking to the locals. I had to be off the ship and look at my watch to get back on the ship because I always had a time constraint. But to have 3 days in each place and to see these, a private luau, to go to the Aulani Palace after hours, to have a private cooking demonstration from a famous chef in Maui, to have all those things for just in a small group, I think I would like that better. And because even though I spent so much time there, this is on my bucket list to do.
It's different ways of seeing it. So do both.
Yeah, exactly. We've got 2 different itineraries. We have a land, New Orleans and Mississippi. We stay at the Ritz and in New Orleans, and you learn about the jazz influence in the city and the Cajun food, and of course what happened during Katrina. It's a well-rounded trip on up to Baton Rouge on the land program. And then we also have a brand new river cruise with the Mississippi Queen. We have one date where we have a little bit of space left. So the Mississippi Queen Steamboat Company, it's their new 160 passenger vessel. And it starts in New Orleans and it goes to Memphis. And we have 2 nights in New Orleans and 1 night in Memphis before and after the cruise.
Okay. And what I also want to mention is that I'm just going to type this in so everybody can see it. But if you are interested in any of these special USA trips, we have a number of videos on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
So just check out Go Travel's YouTube channel. And we have some specific on our favorites from the USA. So don't miss that. So I think you want to talk a little bit about a different style and a different approach to some of your tours with Tauck Bridges. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Sure. That we will definitely be running our domestic Bridges itineraries. Bridges is our brand for families. It's all about bridging the 3 generations. Every single itinerary has parents, grandparents, and kids. And I have to tell you that I can't wait to do another one. I've done a couple. When these first came out, and I thought, oh, who wants to travel with kids? And then I took my nephews on one trip and I was transformed. It's so easy. I didn't have to plan anything. The kids never once said they were bored. They were having fun with these kids from all over the country. And the last day, it was like everybody was going to cry because they had to leave each other. We all made friends. And these offer so many activities. We're hiking, we're riding bikes, we're doing so many cool things. This Alaska itinerary is great for adults as well as kids, even if you don't have kids with you, because it's a wonderful land program. Starts in Anchorage, ends in Anchorage, and it goes to Talkeetna, and it overlooks Mount McKinley. And for 2 days, we stay in Talkeetna. So we go to a mushers home where he's raising these dogs to run the Iditarod. And the musher that we meet, he's run the Iditarod several times, 1,000 miles in the middle of nowhere. 2 days we're hiking, we're jet boat riding, we're doing all kinds of stuff. And then we get on these planes and we flight see over Denali. I mean, what better way is there to see it? Go back to Anchorage, we get on a boat and we are sailing, looking at the glaciers. You know, I did Alaska with family, and I remember when it was time to see the Marjorie Glacier, my sister is Marjorie, it was like 3 or 4 people deep for us to get to the railing. And what I remember most about that trip is that, and the fact that we had to wait in line for the buffet every single morning before we could get off of the ship. So this isn't like that at all. You're in a small group and you're there and you're waking up smelling that fresh, clean air. And I just think it's such a highlight to see this by land and to be more immersed, a little bit more immersed in the destination, because you do that when you go by land.
And Jennifer, when will these resume?
Oh, they're happening in June.
Okay, so if you're lucky, maybe there's some space sometime this year. If not, look into the future.
And Hawaii and Alaska just announced that if you haven't been vaccinated, you can get vaccinated at the airport when you arrive.
That's great.
Just came out.
That's great. And yeah, I took this picture on, we've got 6 river cruises for families, dedicated for families, where every day, you know, the focus is on how to entertain the kids so they'll be engaged and they're learning at the same time. So I took this picture on day 4 of our river cruise on the Rhone. And that kid way over on the left with his hands like that, that's my nephew. And the one with the long hair in the middle, that's my nephew. But those other kids, they didn't know each other 4 days before that. And I just always look at this picture and it's in my mind. And I think, you know, those kids had such a good time. Mm-hmm. They're still talking about it today. And I know that window is so short when they're young. That middle kid with the big hair, he just turned 19. I said to him, Alex, you don't want to be traveling with me anymore. And he said, yes, I will. So that window's so short when they're young. Try to seize on that. If you have the opportunity, I strongly encourage it on a Bridges trip.
Now, transitioning a little bit, we have some specials. So Bob, why don't you talk about the Go Travel group that you have been working on?
Well, we do have the special. It is to the Floriade. It is April 13th, 2022. Obviously, the exclusives are the Floriade, the private gala dinner at Mauritshuis Museum in The Hague. This also includes the Keukenhof Gardens entrance. So we have that departure for April 13th, which means you would go out on April 12th. Or, Jennifer, isn't there a special isn't there a special associated with that if they go out on the 11th? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a complimentary night. If you would like to take this or any itinerary for 2021 or 2022, and you go see Julia, Bob, or any of our friends at any one of the Go Travel offices, then we will offer you a free night, either pre or post. Yeah. So we're happy to do that, and it's only available through Go Travel, and it's good for the next month. So until May 20th, they'll be able to offer you this complimentary night.
It's a $400 to $500 value in most cases.
Sometimes even more. In Paris, the hotel that we stay at is sometimes €1,000 a night. Yeah. In Japan,
and this is for any 2021 or 2022 Tauck journey. So this can be a land, this can be a river cruise, anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, Jennifer, I thank you very much. Unfortunately, I have to flee for a moment. I have a meeting in 2 minutes that I'm stuck in, but that's okay. They know some of them are watching here. But Jennifer, thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you on board with us. It's always a pleasure to work with Tauck, and it's always a pleasure to travel with Tauck.
And thank you all. Thanks to everybody that's listening, and thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to have been here.
Bob, I'm sorry you're going to miss the fabulous Holland video, but we'll let you go.
I know, but I've been there. Have the pictures, have the hat, have the wooden shoes. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, Bob. Now, Jennifer, any final before we get to this fun video, this video actually really makes me laugh. But any final advice to anybody out there thinking about planning either Floriade or anything with Tauck?
Yes, thank you, Julia. If you have a destination that you're curious about, but you're not so sure about, and you need a little more information, get together with Julia or Bob, and we can put a presentation together. We can walk through it. We can talk. I can, put some slides together. We can talk about the destination or about Tauck in general, about the other ways that we travel with our land programs, our exotics. Africa, we have 9 different itineraries. I love to talk about Africa. So if you have any other interests, just let them know, because we're happy to talk to you. Right now when we're home, as a sales rep, my life has been on the road, but now when I'm home, I've got the time to do this, and I'm happy to do that because we want you to travel well. That when you come back, you'll just remember that for the rest of your life, all about the good things.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, if you are thinking about it, if you're thinking about it in 2025, whatever, reach out to your travel advisor. Jennifer has been working with us for years, so your travel advisor knows her well. She visits us all the time, or at least did before, and hopefully we get to see you in person soon. Okay. So just reach out to your travel advisor. If you do not have a travel advisor, just visit us at gotravel.com and we will connect you with a specialist. So thank you for joining us on this little adventure today. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And let's take a little trip to Holland on our way out. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
What do you know about Holland? Flowers, windmills, picturesque canals, cheese, wooden shoes, master paintings from the Golden Age.
Yes, we have it all. But let me show you what's really cool about Holland.
You call it organic and artisanal. We just call it food. You call it boutique, independent, alternative. We call it the 9 Streets. You call it exercise. We call it a way of life.
They still drive cars!
Dutch!
Oh, yeah. By the way, did you notice I'm speaking English? We all do.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome to Amsterdam.
Ik niet. Jullie noemen hem Van Gogh. Wij zeggen Van Gogh.
Did someone say Van Gogh?
You call it art. We call it the Rijksmuseum.
Dutch!
You call it green energy. We call it tradition. You call it... We call it Amsterdam.
You call it the travel day. We call it the first day of vacation. Holland, the original cool.